you truly believe that children are a priority, that education is a right, then show us the money that we are owed and deserve and need. And these advocates, all of these individuals in this struggle are going to march to Albany to demonstrate their commitment.
Letitia James was also sworn in on Wednesday as the city's new public advocate, the position previously occupied by Bill de Blasio. She's the first African-American woman to be elected to citywide office in New York.
Imagine running for office on a platform of justice for all, but behind the scenes, you're cutting checks to a nonprofit to run your campaign like it's Black Friday at Best Buy.
The fabric of our city, of our nation, is made strong by the untold sacrifices of so many who are left defenseless, unrepresented, unspoken for. The policies that make them voiceless must give way to a government that works for them, that cares more about a child going hungry than a new stadium or a new tax credit for a luxury development. To live up to that challenge and to be morally centered in our decisions is the task before those of us who think of ourselves as the progressive wing of our city.
Fast forward to now, Letitia James is under fire again, this time for ethics complaints and a criminal referral tied to alleged mortgage fraud. The pressure is mounting and folks are starting to ask, if she bent the rules back then, what else is she capable of today? Let's bring this full circle. Did she have a nonprofit running parts of her campaign back of September to November of 2013? And if so, why hasn't anyone done anything about it? That's the situation Letitia James found herself back in 2013 run for New York City Public Advocate. We're going to go back in time and dive into this situation. Let's get into it. So back then, Letitia James was a rising political star in New York at the time. She was gunning for a public advocate seat. For those who do not know, public advocate is basically the city's professional snitch. Their whole job is to call out for corruption and government screw-ups. So the stakes were already sky high. But according to campaign finance records, James' 2013 campaign made payments totaling nearly $3,500 to a nonprofit called New York Communities for Change, NYCC. Here's where the eyebrow raising starts. NYCC is a 501c4 nonprofit, meaning legally, their main purpose has to be promoting social welfare, not political campaigning. And spoiler alert, it looks like they were doing a little bit more than just welfare promoting. According to the filings right here, as you guys can check out, this is online, New York Communities for Change, NYCC. And you see all of the things that she spent on, looks like campaign financing. Staff, rent, phone, runoff, canvassing. These things allegedly were used to help her win the seat. Like I said, the nonprofit was basically running parts of her campaign. This isn't just sketchy, it might be illegal. Nonprofits can dabble in politics, sure, but if it becomes their main hustle, their tax-exempt status goes bye-bye. Think about it. It's like hiring your Uber driver to also be your surgeon. Wrong people, wrong job, and it's going to end ugly. Well, seriously, because who would have someone do surgery if you're an Uber driver? But anyway, let's continue. And look, no one is saying that James personally filled out those invoices, but when your campaign is cutting checks to social welfare nonprofit to get bodies on the street for election day, that's not just sloppy, that's weaponized hypocrisy. And also, this gets worse. Not only those payments were made, they were repeated. There are multiple invoices, multiple dates, as you guys can see here, staff canvassers, phone operations. This wasn't a one-time oopsie doopsie. As you can see here, September 30th, $362.21 for canvassing. You see right here for October 3rd. You see right here for November 25th. These payments weren't nickel and dimes, they were an organized, repeated relationship. And every time a check was cleared, the NYCC drifted a little further from that community organizing and a little bit closer to campaign staffing agency. Meanwhile, James was out there in the public promoting transparency and fairness, like she was auditioning to be on the Disney Channel or something. And here's the really sadly hilarious part of all this. NYCC was basically reborn from the ashes of Acorn, the nonprofit that got destroyed after a 2009 uncovered sting operation exposed major corruption.
James O'Keefe became a media sensation after he and a friend posed as a pimp and a prostitute and secretly recorded Acorn workers giving them advice on how to cheat on their taxes.
Have you ever done anything undercover with Acorn Housing?
Now, Acorn is a group that helps poor people. It is known as the Association of Community Organizers for Reform.
It was a tactic that no one had ever seen before.
Scenario: a young woman pretending to be a prostitute and a man pretending to run for Congress one day walk into Acorn's Baltimore headquarters
and are promptly shown the door.
Performance arts, let's see, independent artists. You can be that. Dancing,
It's not dancing, trust me.
But dancing is considered an art. I mean, you know,
sex is kind of like dancing, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say.
I had no idea I was going to walk into the office in Baltimore and Tanja Thompson was going to spend an hour talking about creative ways to commit tax fraud. Perhaps the most extraordinary thing about it was that it actually passed legislation in Congress that was bipartisan in a democratically controlled House and Senate, with President Obama signing that legislation.
Within a few more days, the Senate voted to defund Acorn.
So you're telling me that the Letitia James campaign, which is all about rooting out corruption, was quietly cutting deals with a group that came straight out of Acorn's shady legacy? I mean, the irony is just ridiculously delicious. And just like Acorn, NYCC's political involvement was also a massive gray area. They're supposed to be the social welfare warriors, not political operatives. Yet here we are, getting paid to put feet on the ground for a public advocate campaign. Now, did Letitia James get arrested, indicted, forced to give a public apology? Nope. There has been zero accountability, no investigation, no charges, not even a slap on the wrist. And after winning her public advocate seat, James used the platform to eventually become New York's Attorney General, basically the top cop of the state. The same person whose campaign played fast and loose with the nonprofit rules is now in charge of enforcing the law on everyone else. That's like letting the raccoon run in the produce section at Whole Foods. It sounds crazy because it is crazy. And now, here in 2025, the stakes are even higher. Letitia James has become one of the most politically visible attorneys in the entire country, especially because of her ongoing legal battles with Donald Trump and his allies. But here's the biggest issue. When you make law enforcement political, you better make sure your own house is clean, squeaky clean. No problems, because once you step into the political spotlight, people are going to dig into your past with a shovel and a flashlight. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now, with Trump supporters and conservative legal groups targeting her for ethics complaints and referrals for alleged mortgage fraud. Every questionable move she made in the past is now being brought back up for review. And I'm going to be talking about this until I'm blue in the face, but the problem with weaponizing the law in politics, that it invites retaliation. It turns the legal system into battlegrounds, and suddenly it's not just about guilt or innocence, it's about who gets caught first and who's better at covering their own tracks. It's extremely dangerous. If prosecutors are seen as politically biased, public trust in the justice system erodes really fast. And if the enforcement of the law has a record of skirting it, that erosion turns into a full-blown collapse. The question becomes, is Letitia James really fighting for justice? Or is she just playing the same dirty game with a shinier badge? And the worst part, if you or I try to pull this stunt, they'll have us in handcuffs so fast we'll be still holding the receipt. So here's the million-dollar question. If Letitia James was willing to bend the rules to win an election, should we trust her to enforce the rules on everyone else? Because honestly, if the top cop is skimming, it's only a matter of time if the whole town becomes lawless. And what matters even more is Letitia James isn't just any politician. She is the Attorney General of New York. That's a position of massive power. She has the authority to bring lawsuits, lead investigations, and determines who gets hit with the full force of the law. So if her own foundation is shaky, how can anyone else take her crusade against corruption seriously? We don't need our leaders to be saints. No one is perfect, and politics isn't church. But there's a huge difference between being imperfect and being entangled in your own pattern of rule breaking. If you're going to lead a charge against fraud, you can't be out there with your own closet full of skeletons or red flags or whatever you want to call it. It's like a lifeguard who can't swim. You might look the part, you might say the right things on the megaphone, but when it comes down to saving some people, you're just another body in the water. Like myself, I can't swim. She's made a name for herself as the fearless watchdog of justice. But if she's cutting corners in her own campaigns, then the watchdog might be a little too close to the meat. So before she levels the next big accusation or launches the next investigation, maybe she needs to take a good hard look at her own past. Let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.